Right. Welcome to the show, Bronwyn Millar, artist extraordinaire, mother of goddesses.
Thank you very much. And thank you
And
to
birthday
you.
girl as well.
Birthday girl. I'm 51.
I always think it's wonderful to actually get into your 50s. Like I celebrate my gray hair, you know? It's like, yeah, I lived this long.
It's a gift. And I also say often, like, imagine if we had the knowledge and power and wisdom that we have now in our 20-year-old bodies. We would have been, firstly, unstoppable, but probably completely insufferable. So it's good and it's right that we only actually mature when we don't have the stamina to take over the world.
Yeah, and we can also reverse our age, you know, these
Yeah.
days. I mean,
Yes.
the technology of immortality is consciousness based, really.
It is. And I'm feeling like since I've had this awakening, I really feel like I've started aging backwards in a way. I feel like I'm
Yeah,
getting more youthful and invigorated every day. Oh
yeah.
my
So
gosh. I'm so sorry.
it's a happy birthday message, I'm sure.
I'm just going to switch my phone off.
So,
Okay.
do you want to start with the story of your goddesses, or do you want to show us one of your goddesses? Because I see them there in the background, and really we want to talk about them.
Yes.
We
So
want to talk
my
about
goddess
them
is
today. Maybe you can bring one a little bit closer.
okay. So that's wood, and there are 9 wood goddesses. And
Yeah,
then it
amazing.
goes to,
She's going to be our
yes,
spring
we're gonna
equinox goddess, eh?
yeah, we're gonna talk about her. And then it goes to fire. And again, there are 9 fires.
They're so mind blowing. I can't wait for people to see them. They're getting
Yeah,
out into the world.
and this is earth.
Yeah, so stunning.
Yeah. Metal
Wow.
and water. I should be probably putting these all back so we can
Yeah,
see.
they're the kind of images that you need to spend long time looking at. I mean, you just had an exhibition, hey, Bron?
I did. So I had the first exhibition of these goddesses, which was a little self-curated show in a fabulous experimental space in Joburg. And it was the first time I'd seen them all hanging together, and it was absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, they were
So
really beautiful. And you just saw people standing in front of each one and like staring at them for a long time because they are, in a way, like codes
yes.
almost. Like each one, you know, has got so much encoded into it that you just want to stand and sort of absorb these codes because I'd think they're quite new codes on the planet. It's not like something that we've seen a lot of.
On this planet. So what they are
Yeah.
is the goddesses that come from different dimensions into this dimension where we are coming into this rebalancing of the masculine and the feminine. And they come from places where that masculine and feminine is balanced and it works together in symbiosis and in harmony. And they each have a yoni symbol on them somewhere. They often have more than one, but most of them have a yoni plaque on the chest. Sometimes it's on the throat, sometimes it's on the forehead or above, and they all have a third eye. So she has a flower sitting in her third eye.
And what's the reason for that, or the symbology of that?
So the yoni is a symbol of birth, and that's how we always sort of see it. We see the yoni as the symbol of birth and womanhood, but the yoni is also a symbol of orgasm. So they all have a lovely little clitoris, a very important little organ,
Wow.
and it's an organ that has been ignored for many years, for millennia, really. And so the way the goddesses have come to me is they've actually come to me through psychedelic and psychic orgasms. And that's a much longer story.
Wow. That's quite a mouthful.
It is. I started having them after a psilocybin experience I had in 2019, and I was trying to do a hero's journey to get over my anxiety. And I was just about to embark on an immigration to Ireland, which was just pre the pandemic. And so I was trying to sort of get excited about life and our future and everything. And then sort of everything came crashing down when the lockdowns were announced. And I spiraled into sort of really a madness. In hindsight, in retrospect, it was a break from consensus reality. And it was the perfect position for these goddesses to find me. And they found me in my trauma. And they started channeling through. I've been having these wild orgasms. And I've had, during the course of my life, I've had various sort of sexual traumas. And I was anorgasmic for about 5 years, which means I couldn't actually achieve orgasm at all.
Wow.
And through my journey through kinesiology, because I'm also a kinesiologist, I healed a lot of my sexual trauma. I was very, very lucky to have a very loving husband and partner, and he's very patient with me, and he helped me to come back into sort of normal sexual function. And then the mushroom trip kind of put me on a springboard into psychedelic orgasms.
Wow.
And so when they started happening, they really freaked me out. I mean, it was amazing. The experiences are, I suppose it's interesting to me, and might be interesting to you and some of the people watching, that they're out-of-body experiences a lot. So I have gone through black holes into white holes. I've gone to the black hole at the center of our universe.
Wow.
Yeah. I go into quantum, so I go into atoms, I go into quantum entanglement. It's difficult to describe it because when you're back in your body, you don't have the words for what really happens. But I've been watching a lot of near-death experience videos and some out-of-body experience videos, and it kind of describes a lot of the things that I've been feeling as well, this intense oneness with the universe. I remember one of my orgasms, I became the universe.
Wow.
It was so powerful. And I was saying within the orgasm,
We even have a little cat here who's wanting to join in on the conversation. Come on, you can also be here.
Little pussy.
Yeah. You can be here with us.
And so I was just saying this mantra to myself. I was saying, I am love, I am love, I am love. And then I started saying, I am, I am, I am. And then I just started saying am. And then the am turned into
Wow.
So I'm loving the fact that so many of the out-of-body experiences and the near-death people talk about the I am as the spirit. And that's kind of where I think these goddesses are coming from. So they channel in strangely and differently in the experiences. Sometimes I get kind of a visual. I've had a visual of one goddess that I have yet to draw, and she has this amazing skull plaque. It's huge, it's enormous, it's like her halo. And it's interesting, she was one of the first goddesses. Oh, hello, baby. Is that Indy?
Yes, India's having something to say about all these incredible, mind-blowing experiences.
I'd love to hear it, Indy.
Yeah, she's participating. She's definitely interested.
Oh,
it's a mind-blowing story, isn't it, my baby?
I need to get my little guy in here as well. So she was one of the first goddesses that I came to that I really saw in the flesh, because they download often so fast that I just get flashes of images. But I saw her, and I haven't drawn her yet. She hasn't come through yet. And I've got a weird feeling that she's going to come through on the end of this entire journey, which still continues. So I've got the 45 goddesses that I've drawn, and I realized that they were coming to me from this place of balanced feminine, masculine, where there's oneness, where there's the I am or the am or the and they're here to heal women sexually. So we speak about orgasms in relation to the male orgasm, mostly because male orgasm is a biological imperative for us to reproduce. So there's a lot of biological importance put on the male orgasm, because without trillions and trillions and trillions of male orgasms, we wouldn't be here today.
I remember you saying that. It's like nobody comes into existence here without an orgasm.
Absolutely.
It's not always a woman's orgasm.
Well, it's almost never a woman's orgasm. There was in 2010, a study was done on orgasms. I can't remember the exact wording, but it was by a group of women that went around the world. So it wasn't just in Western society. Like in Western society, we have this idea of orgasm, and Cosmo has told us that we all deserve orgasms, and that's wonderful, you know, Cosmo and Vogue and Elle and all the rest. But we're just a tiny microcosm, and if you look across the world, and had to count how many women are having any orgasms at all, this group said that it was less than 5% of the population of the world of women were having orgasms. There's a massive amount of taboo in speaking about orgasm. And this is why it's come to me to tell the story, because it's an uncomfortable story for everybody, for most people. And it would have been very easy if these had come to me in an out-of-body experience, and I could just say, well, out-of-body experience. But the minute I tell people the conception story of the goddesses, I have one of two reactions one of three reactions. Either there are people that just kind of skip over that and want to get to the good stuff. There are people that are like, wow, that's interesting, I want some of that. And there's a lot of people that just can't hear it, and that it turns them away from it. So it does fall on me to tell the story of orgasms, and these orgasms specifically, and my orgasms, because I've always been very extra. I've always been very outrageous, and I've never really had a filter. So that's why I tell the story, because it is in respect and in homage to the goddesses to be honest about their origin story.
Absolutely.
And to all of us, and to all women, I think we need to grow a generation of girls who know that their orgasm is biologically important too, for many reasons. It's a stress reliever. It's a serotonin burst. It's an intimacy creator. If you're having orgasms with your partner, you're going to feel a lot more dopamine and love. And if we have a society of girls and boys that get brought up to believe that just because the female orgasm isn't necessary for reproduction, I think it's spiritually necessary for a race of people born in bliss.
Wow, how
Maybe that's what
beautiful.
I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sexuality and kind of the orgasm is an incredibly creative space. And I think it's really important that people are made aware, and specifically women being supported to allow their mind to open in terms of what they might be focused on or thinking about, or allowing to come through, because it can be a very limited experience if you haven't been shown that there's something more that you can access during that time, and to be to be connecting like you have been kind of cosmically is like it's incredible magic in a way, isn't it?
It's complete magic. So I was very atheist for most of my life. My mom's a witch. She makes herbs, and so I grew up with this wonderful wild witch woman. I remember her taking me out into the garden when I was a little girl to help me to dig up comfrey roots at midnight, because was when at full moon. That was when they were their most potent. And she used to have chanting circles, and she made herbs for all the people in the neighborhood for free. She never charged for it. And I actually come from a long line of quite maverick, renegade women. I think there's a shamanic or medicine woman gene in me that is awake.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
when I got to Ireland, it was so embodied in me. My ancestry is Irish. And while I was there, I did a lot of ancestral stuff. Every time I had a kinesiology balance from one of my students, because I taught kinesiology there, or there were two other amazing kinesiologists I worked with there. I have to just shout out to Nigel Kennedy, he's a darling. And all of the work that was done on me was ancestral work, because my great-grandfather left Ireland under a cloud. And it was about reconnecting with Ireland and forgiveness. And so amazing things would happen. Like, it had never happened to me before, but I was prescient. I would be thinking about somebody that I hadn't thought about for years, and the phone would ring, it would be them. Or as the phone would ring, I'd know who it was. Like things started waking up, and then I had these really powerful orgasms, and I would go into the forest, and I would go deep into the earth, and it was really quite wonderful. And this magic built in Ireland. Ireland is magical. There's no two ways about it. I believe that Ireland is like almost the heart of the world. It's the heart chakra in a way. And it was very powerful. And then when I came back to South Africa in 2021, because the whole sort of Irish pandemic experience was difficult for foreigners. It's difficult for, even though I'm not a foreigner, I'm an Irish citizen, but it was difficult for people trying to settle. It was impossible. So we eventually came back to South Africa. And I actually felt it was almost as though my root was cut off, that witchy root was cut off when I went to South Africa. And it took over a year for me to feel magical again here.
It's interesting. I always think of South Africa as the kind of base chakra, the yoni, because it's shaped like that, isn't it? And we're right at the bottom. So in actual fact, you're right where you need to be bringing this in a way, it's like this new frequency through. This is the place of origins. It's the conception area, really, of the planet in many ways. And so it's the perfect place to be giving birth to these goddesses, plus Africa's mama Africa. It's kind of where we started, in my opinion. And I wanted to ask you, because it's interesting that the goddess energy came through at the beginning of the lockdowns. It's an interesting sort of juxtaposition in a way, isn't it? So do you think that there was some reason for that? Or what do you think it was about?
Well, I think the lockdowns and all of that, all of the sort of the whole thing was an ending. It's an ending of a paradigm, and it's an ending of a very masculine paradigm. And I don't in any way say that in a denigrating way to the masculine. The masculine is very important and wonderful. And it's also about logic. It's about control. It's about the masculine tends to be much more reductive materialism. What you see and can touch and can feel and on this earthly plane is all that exists. And it's kind of what the Greeks did. The Greeks took us away from magic and religion and spirituality and witches and shamans, and they put us into this world of logic and science and reasoning, and it was all very cold and clinical. And that's had to come to an end because consciousness has now, well, not now being discovered, but consciousness is rising to such an extent that it's leaking over into science now. We have consciousness departments at MIT and Stanford and Harvard, where we're studying it now. We now know that consciousness precedes matter. So it's this not clashing of the two worlds, because it feels like a clashing, but it's actually an integrating. So I think the birth of that coming during COVID, it was just a way for me to, it was like an anchor for me. It was well, not even an anchor. It was an escape for me from the fear and the trauma into actually the world is magical and we're seeing a death and a rebirth. And so I think in that way, it is very profound that this is the goddess we're working with today, because she is about rebirth. And if you have a look at her, she's a little wild thing. She's not a human. She's from a world where, gods and goddesses exist. And she's also, she's wood and earth. So wood in the Chinese elements is about spring and it's about rebirth. And earth is about the earth and feeling into who you are and the materialism of your body as well, and feeling the actual materialism of the earth beneath your feet.
What actually is she? Is she like a sprite or like an elf, or is she a specific? Do you know what she is?
So when I have my orgasms, I often have experiences with Steve where he becomes the horned one. And I am just the goddess, and I'm all of these goddesses. And so for me, she's like, she would be a little fawn, but a
Yeah.
little female fawn. And she says she's the goddess of womb essence. So she's about your womb. And I call the womb, it's a heart shape within your body. It's love. The womb is pure love. Um, she's about rebirth. And I'll do the script a little bit later. But I think that's what was happening now. We are coming into a real rebirth, where women, so the masculine is about all of these cold logic, science, reasoning, maths, accounting. It's all very, very tick all the boxes, dot all the I's. Whereas the female is much more esoteric, and she's about deep natural cycles, the seasons. She's about mysticism. The yin is unknowable and it is eternal. It goes, the deeper you get into the yin, the more magic, deep, dark, and mysterious it becomes. So that overlap is going to be beautiful, because I do believe that AI is inescapable. And we need to find a way to make AI work within our natural rhythms and cycles, and make AI a tool for us and not become a tool of the AI. So if we were to continue along a very male sort of rational, materialist-driven, technological path, the AI would become a controlling force. With the divine feminine coming in, the AI becomes a tool to help us.
Yeah,
So
I mean, I was going to say what I found interesting about the timing of these goddesses starting to come through is that I think for me, the COVID thing was really warped. It was like a warped masculine energy, and it was kind of like an onslaught on the feminine and on the sacred masculine and feminine in a way. And I see these goddesses being born at that time almost as like a rebellion, goddess rebellion. And they just said, absolutely not, And I mean, how incredibly fortunate to be able to access these goddesses through your sexuality, and to be able to bring them to the world. And they like I said at the beginning, they really are so unique. And I know you're going to be publishing them a little. Do you want to talk about what's coming, or?
Yes, I do. But before we move on, just quickly, I want to say that she's the first of the wood goddesses, and she's this wild little horned one in the forest. And the last good wood goddess is actually an AI, or she's technology goddess. But
Yes.
she's merging with the technology in a way that works for her. So she has the horns, but they don't control her. They pick things up for her. It's an antenna. It's
Yeah, it
not.
would be. I mean, that's an interesting conversation in itself, is like how you would imagine the AI to be going in a in a feminine informed way. That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is an interesting, and I resisted AI. I've resisted it very, very powerfully, but I kept drawing these goddesses that were technological and going, why are technological goddesses coming through? And then I had a realization that we evolve. And if we're going to get galactic, we have to have technology. So we need to figure out how to work with the technology in a balanced way, where it's about love as well, where the core of it must be love. So yes, I am publishing. I have, it took me a long time to find a publisher, and it's absolutely right, because when I'd first drawn the goddesses and written their scripts, because I'm a kinesiologist, I was able to surrogate for each goddess and get an emotion, an acupoint, find out what meridian they were on, and create these scripts. And they're a crossover of the Western 4 elements plus 1, who is ether, and the Chinese 5 elements. And so they overlap. So there'll be wood and earth, or fire and air, or metal and water. because they're coming from somewhere else. So it's this crossover of two alien cultures, and the Western culture and the Chinese culture are quite alien to each other. So it's to speak that language, because there must be some that is obvious and knowable, and some that is not obvious and unknowable eternally because of yin and yang. And so I first wrote the scripts, and I was very excited. I thought the book was great. It was going to be a book at first. Well, I knew it was a deck of oracle cards, but I thought it would be easier to have a publish as a book. And I looked around for publishers, and I got a bite from somebody who was at a publishing company. And then she went on maternity leave, and she said, just give me a few months, I'll be back. And then she just never came back to me. So I didn't look for anybody else. And then eventually, when I did contact her again, she'd left, and the person filling in for her was like, oh no, I don't know anything about this. And we've got all oracle decks we need for the next 2 years. So thank you very much. And I was very upset because I thought, oh no, lost this opportunity. And I carried on looking. And I kept getting bites, but they didn't want to do what I wanted to do. Or they wanted to, they were like, oh, you need to simplify these. Oh, you need to rewrite the scripts. Everything has to fit on a card. And I eventually decided, well, bugger this. I'm going to do this myself. And so I created the book. You've seen the book. I think you've worked with it. And before I published it myself, I thought, well, let me just see if the universe is ready for somebody else to publish it. And I sent it out. So I actually looked, I thought, who's the top 3 oracle deck publishers and esoteric publishers in the world? And for me, Findhorn is one of them. And there were 3. So I sent to Inner Traditions, Findhorn, and somebody else. Now, Inner Traditions, Bear & Company got back to me, and they're part of Findhorn Press.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, this is like the best. These are the
That's
best.
so exciting. Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
So when is it going to come out?
May 2025.
Okay.
They've been so amazing because they don't want to edit me. They want to polish the jewel. So like they're saying things like, we're going to change this a little bit because it's better for the publishing. This will be better for the audience to understand. But in no way have they said, oh, that doesn't work, that won't sell. They're really about taking the work and turning it into the most polished version of itself so that it can find its audience. And I could not be happier to be working with a publishing company with this much integrity and this much just love. It's been a beautiful experience.
Yeah, fantastic. And the other thing I was going to mention is just in terms of the everything that's going on with sort of gender at the moment, and kind of people moving, they cross to whatever gender it is that they feel that they want to be with. And I know you're quite active in that field, working with that topic. I don't know if that has got some relevance to the goddesses and the goddess energy at all. I mean, I do, like I said to you, I do think of them as quite a revolutionary force. Like they're really here with a message. And I'm just wondering if there's anything around that might be, really
it's such a
talk about.
It's such a controversial topic and everybody's very polarized about it. And I think it's very relevant right now because we are in this place of confusion. We're in this very binary place. Dualism is the downfall of this planet and this dimension. It's black and white, male, female, straight and LGB, and there's been a lot of us and theming. I mean, we're seeing it in the world now with this madly polarized fight between left and right. And for me, the sweet spot is in the middle, is in connecting with each other in love and listening to each other. I don't doubt that there are truly trans people that are born in the wrong body, and those people need to be loved and supported. And I also know, because I'm a mother of a young teenager, that there's a lot of confusion in that world as well. And girls are where we've had centuries of being chattel. We were only given rights as citizens less than 100 years ago, and not even all over the world. So there's been this male control over women and sexuality, and in some countries in the world, you'll still get stoned for being gay. You'll still, as a woman, you'll get stoned for adultery, or if you get raped. There's still a lot of imbalance there. And it's understandable to me that a lot of young girls are resisting their femininity. And they're not doing it in an adult, measured, sane way. They're doing it from little kids. So 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, it was mostly trans people were mostly men transitioning to women, and it was very difficult for them, and they were not celebrated, and they had a really hard time. But in recent years, the very vast majority, it's over 85% of people transitioning now are young, below the age of 25 women transitioning into becoming men. And I think it's really a way of just saying, I don't want to be stuck in that gender role of being a woman and being a sex object and not having my orgasms celebrated and my power celebrated. So I think that's going to recalibrate as we go. And it seems to be recalibrating already. If you have a look in the UK, they've passed new laws that prevent minors from medically transitioning, which is as it should be. Your brain is not fully developed until you're 25. If there are decisions that you want to make permanently as an adult, make it when your brain is adult. Because what we've also seen is a massive amount, when they haven't medicated these children, because so they start the medicating them very young. When they haven't medicated these children, Danish and Finnish studies have shown that when these children are allowed to go through natural puberty, on the other side of it, I think it's over 86% again. Say, oh, actually, no, I'm not trans. I was just confused, or I just didn't want to go through puberty. So I think that's going to right itself. And I think there are always going to be, because nothing is black and white and nothing is written in stone. There are always going to be people who will still want to transition and be happier as the opposite, as presenting in the opposite sex. But if we allow women to celebrate their power and their femininity and to understand that the goddess is being reborn back into the world. The goddess has always been there, actually. The goddess is being reborn inside each of us. So my dad's been going for 40 minutes. We've got 5 more minutes, I think.
Yes, we've got about 7 minutes left, and we can do a part 2 at another point, or whatever we want to do. But there's just so many. It's almost like you and your goddesses are a voice of the future. They're a voice of now, but there's, you look at them and they are so unusual, like I said, that it's like they are doorways. They definitely are doorways into another realm. I mean, they might be beings from other dimensions, other planets, I mean, they're really, really, each one so unusual. I mean, some are humanoid or whatever.
Yeah.
And you said
some
are completely alien, and others are like hybrid AI. I don't know if there's anything that you want to say about that. I mean, I know we're going to wrap up within the next 5 minutes, but they've got places to go, and I'm just, interested, like, in how it's going to all unfold.
So I think what might be fun is for us to just speak about her aspects and do the script if we've got time to do that. Would you like to?
Yeah, let's do that.
So I'm going to put her up so you can
Here's our spring goddess.
She is the goddess of womb essence. She is wood and earth. She says, come into harmony with your cycle, and her emotions are empathy, harmony, jubilant, and alive. And she has 2 acupoints on the inner leg, the inner calf, which you can run from your ankle up to your knee. And then it says, how do you feel about your womb space and about your cycle? How did you learn about your body and how it moves with the rhythms of the moon and the tides? This goddess comes to speak to us of the womb, about how our lives are entwined with it, about how as animals we are part of the alive whole. We sway with the heartbeat of the world. We pulse with our own inner ebb and flow. Perhaps your body hasn't been in harmony with this rhythm. Perhaps you've been trained to disdain or resent your flow, or see it as a burden that you have to whisper about and call it by other names. This goddess comes to remind you that you are animal, that your body flows and ebbs, and that you are a wondrous and jubilant and precious part of the whole, that your whole body is a blessing, and its waters and its blood will answer the sacred rhythm of the tides. And if your body does not flow as expected, to release any shame or burden around that also, so that your body may ebb and flow in harmony with the tides too. And with harmony comes empathy, love of all things in their pure form.
Wow.
And then there's
How
a
beautiful.
meditation that goes with that, which is about a rebirth. So I don't know if we'll have time, because I usually do the meditation extremely slowly, but maybe we can just do another one with just the meditations at the same time. So then what comes with that is you would sit your client, if you're working with a client, comfortably, and you get them to breathe into the space. And this goddess is about coming into the yin heart shape within your body, which is your uterus, which is your womb, and to actually put yourself inside your own womb and to birth yourself out of it. So, and then she has an affirmation at the end of it, which is, I am wild and free, and I live in harmony with all nature. My body beats in time with the heartbeat of the world.
Wow. How incredible. And what a time. I mean, to have, first of all, your birthday, to have this goddess of the womb, and also for them to be emerging now in spring. And, there's just, and it's the beginning of this new world, really, that it's the perfect time to have these beautiful beings emerge from these portals, these feminine, sacred portals in consciousness, really.
And lastly, my message to women is not about resistance. It's about rising. We're not resisting anything. We are rising into our sacred place again. And that's where it's not about fighting men. It's not about toxic masculinity. It's about rising back into our beautiful place where we integrate instead of what we've been doing. This is our time.
Oh, beautiful. And if people want to get hold of you, or have a session with you, or whatever, or just be in touch with you, do you want to let people know how to find you?
So the easiest place to find me is probably on Facebook as Bronwyn E. Millar. That's Bronwyn with the Y and Millar with an A. Bronwyn E. Millar.
Okay, wonderful. All right. Well, thank you so much for your beautiful, beautiful goddesses in this world. I'm so happy to have met them through you. And of course, to know you. What a blessing. And I hope you have the happiest of happy birthdays today. And hopefully we'll have many more times and stories and interactions.
I hope so. This has been loads of fun.
All right. Lots of
Thank you,
love.
my darling.
Okay. Bye.
Okay, bye.